Hey everyone, welcome back to the Bocce Piles channel. I'm your host Brian. For this Murktide Monday, we are playing a Temur Beans deck list. So this deck list is brought to us by GWb who 5-0'd with this list, and it came out in the league dump today. So Temur Beans, so this Up the Beanstalk card draws a card whenever it enters the battlefield, and when we play a spell with mana value 5 or greater. So we've got Murktide Regent, Hooting Mandrills, Force of Will, and Lorien Revealed. Now, Lorien Revealed, I feel like is questionable. Like, if you're playing Lorien Revealed, like drawing an extra card off Up the Beanstalk, does that really matter? I mean, I could see playing like a 4th Questing Druid or more Mishra's Baubles in that slot. But on the other hand, it does, pitch to Force of Will. It's a sorcery for Delirium to get Dragon's Rage Channeler going. And maybe this draw 3 mode with the extra card off of Beanstalk will happen. Some of these lists I see aren't playing the Hooting Mandrills, but I think the Hooting Mandrills is pretty sweet. And it does come up where you've been wastelanded and you're wastelanding your opponent, and so you're stuck on one land, and getting to drop the Hooting Mandrills for 1 mana in that kind of situation is usually quite good. We've got a pretty standard sideboard, Pyroclasm there, for all the goblins in the meta, but maybe we will play against some Death and Taxes or Cradle Control. But yeah, we got Price of Progress to blow out 4 or 5 color control opponents. Minsc and Boo is another threat. This is all pretty standard fare. Off the top of my head, I'd be interested in a Torpor Orb, and I don't really think 3 Pyroblasts are needed. And, well, Beans is good at kind of ignoring Chalice on 1. I mean, getting your Brainstorms, Ponders, and Dragon's Rage Channelers countered isn't any fun, but with Up the Beanstalk, it's a lot easier to go over a Chalice on 1 compared to a traditional Delver list. So we'll see how that all works out. But on the whole, I like what this deck is doing, and I'm excited to play some Beanstalk today. So let's get to it. All right, so we're going to start round 1 on the draw. And we're playing against Learn to Love 6, who I believe is Rich Cali, and he's a famous Delver player. So I would expect that's what we're up against here. But we have a fine hand for a mirror-type match, so that's all well and good. And we rip a Dragon's Rage Channeler, which is pretty sick. So we're going to play the Dragon's Rage, play this Bauble, get some Surveil value. A Force of Will. I think I do like it, what with this Up the Beanstalk in hand that we can play next turn. And should we get Wastelanded, maybe we'll be happy to have the Force of Will. Yeah, it looks like the opponent is playing Tempo. Yeah, they got a Bolt for the Dragon's Rage. That's cool. If we can just fade the Wasteland here, we'll be in a pretty good spot. Well, looks like we're getting Wastelanded. But we do have this Misty Rainforest, so we're in okay shape. We're going to get to Misty, like Fetch for a Trop, Lorien Revealed for Volcanic, and jam the Beanstalk. And we don't have to expose ourselves to Wasteland again. We can just leave this Misty in play without cracking it until our opponent's end step. So they're going to crack the Strand, play a Ponder. They chose not to shuffle. Okay. So yeah, end of turn. Let's get a Tropical Island. Let's cycle the Lorien Revealed. And get a Volcanic Island. Another Force. Okay, well, let's play the Up the Beanstalk. So they do have a Daze. Well, I would like the Beanstalk to resolve, and it's just a question of do I want to pitch Force or Brainstorm. And it probably does have to be Force. The Beanstalk resolves. We'll get to trigger the Beanstalk with the Mandrills. And if the Beanstalk gets countered, we got another Beanstalk. The Beanstalk is in. So that's great. We're going to get to Questing Druid. Hooting Mandrills or Beanstalk again. I'm pretty okay with either of those outcomes. It is a Dragon's Rage. And there's a Bauble. So if I probably have to play the Hooting Mandrills first here. Like we don't want to not have any threats in play. It would be nice to have that Beanstalk in play and get, the maximal value. But we'll settle for playing this Beanstalk here and just drawing one card. They're going to Brainstorm in response. So they did leave a card on top. All right, we drew the card. The Mandrills are in, and we drew yet another Beanstalk. We're lousy with these things. So we are going in on Ponder. And lands and Dazes are both pretty exciting here. I mean, what I'm scared most from my opponent is like a Murktide Regent, and Daze probably doesn't stop that. And so I think I am just going to play a Misty. And I guess I'm going to pass. I'll probably be brainstorming before the start of my next turn. If they have Wasteland here, I don't want to commit this Misty Rainforest to fetching Tropical Island versus Volcanic Island. And if I get Taiga, then I can't play the Brainstorm. Okay, so they do have the Wasteland. And they're getting in. I'm happy just to not crack the Misty here, I think. Okay, so they just do nothing. You draw a Daze, it's not a bad one. They waste me. Yeah, we'll just use Brainstorm. I think they should have done that in my upkeep, but maybe there's a reason why they want to do that in my draw step. Okay. So I think I can put back the extra Beanstalk. We don't have anything to trigger the Beanstalk here. So maybe I'll just put back both of these Beanstalks and be content. And I guess I'm going to seek the beast on my opponent's upkeep here. I don't know if they're playing like Spell Piercer or anything. I do see that in some lists. We wouldn't want them to tap out for Spell Pierce. And then, if they use Spell Pierce, we want them to tap out for it in their upkeep, basically. All right, let's seek the beast. Okay, so we hit some pretty good ones here. So I expect we can get the full 3-for-1 off of this. Off this Questing Druid here. Okay, a Delver, that's fine. We're going to 11. I mean, it would be nice to get a Murktide down to help stabilize this board, but... Alright, so I'm going to shuffle away the Beanstalks on top of my deck. I'll grab a Volcanic Island. Okay, Brazen Borrower is a nice one. I am just going to play Questing Druid. And I'm going to play this Bauble. See what my opponent's doing. So they are not flipping their Delver of Secrets. And then we can play this Ponder and grow the Questing Druid. They do have a Daze. So they're going to get to Surveil here. That's fine. I'm not going to Daze to protect my Ponder. That would be silly. We are getting a little low on life here, but if their Delver doesn't flip, we're in a really good spot. And we can Daze a Murktide here. And we have a Lightning Bolt, so... Okay, but the Delver does flip and they found Force of Will. Okay. So they do get to inflict some damage here. But we are going to get to do a bunch of damage to our opponent on their turn. And in fact, we're probably just going to try to kill them here. See what the draw is. A Dragon's Rage. Okay. Well, they have Force of Will in hand. And we're at 4 life. I'm going to start with a Dragon's Rage here. Let's see if they want to counter this. They don't. I mean, I could try to Lightning Bolt my opponent and get them dead. They basically have to Force a Will that. See, I'm in a situation where I could maybe daze my own spell to get across the finish line, but it does open me up to potential blowouts, is the thing. This Lightning Bolt will make it a 4/4. My Questing Druid. I mean, they're probably going to be forcing over this bolt regardless of what I do. All right, I guess I'm going to bolt my opponent and then double daze it. And then we've got Petty Theft after the fact here. I'm going to double daze their force, is what I'm trying to say. I think that gives me an opportunity to win. So I am going to just bolt my opponent here. So we have Lightning Bolt on top. I mean, that's like a pretty good one. But I'm somehow still alive next turn. Okay, so they're going for the force. We'll let them do their surveil. Okay. And so I think we can just grow the Questing Druid to epic proportions here, is the way this is going to work. And they're not going to have any mana either. So they can't, I don't think they can do anything. Like, I think a Petty Theft is the one thing that can save them. But we now are attacking for 10. Oh, a Stern Dismissal on my Questing Druid. All right, well, that's going to keep them in the game. So I guess Stern Dismissal is doing work there, this crazy card. That was like the one thing they could have there. So the Lightning Bolt resolves. But the thing is, we're still at 4 life. So, I think it's still okay. I'm going to play the Tropical Island. And we can... I guess it's better to Petty Theft the Insectile Aberration, as that takes longer to flip. And so they are dead to bolt next turn. So they're brainstorming. They need to somehow play Lightning Bolt twice this turn to win, I believe. And I think that's pretty challenging to do, although not impossible. They have 2 lightning bolts in their graveyard already. I suppose a combination of Unholy Heat and Lightning Bolt and Volcanic Island could do it. So they have to attack with Dragon's Rage. I am just going to take the trade here where I know we have this this Lightning Bolt on top. There's a Dragon's Rage. They have 1 card in hand. It's a Delver. Okay, so we are in the clear then. We can just Lightning Bolt our opponent and call it good. All right, that's a nice win on the draw in the old tempo mirror. All right, so I'd say what we're going to do here is just board out the forces and bring in the blasts. Up the Beanstalk was a little bit clunky in multiples there, but I think it's okay. This hand is a little low on lands, but we're not going to throw back a DRC, Bolt, Daze, Cantrip hand, and Murktide too. We just need to find 1 more land here before we get Wastelanded out of the game. Turn 1 Delver from the opponent. It's reasonable. I guess I'm just going to fire off the Dragon's Rage here. The opponent does Daze, and that doesn't hurt my feelings because we at least get to have our Volcanic Island for 1 more turn before it gets Wastelanded. And the opponent is set back on mana as well. The opponent has a Daze. Okay. And they have a Dragon's Rage. So I think I have to go ahead here and Lightning Bolt. Probably the Insectile Aberration and let it just get dazed. Another land. I don't really hate the mana here. They do Daze as predicted. We can't pay. And I guess I'm offering a trade on DRCs that I know my opponent won't accept. But there's a good chance their DRC has Delirium before they attack next turn anyway. And we're only saving 1 point of damage if it doesn't have Delirium. So I think that's fine. All right. So I don't think it's worth being... Well, I guess I can just bolt the Insectile Aberration. No, there's really no way for me to get Delirium here. So I'm just going to attack and then do the Lightning Bolt on their upkeep. But I think I do just have to bolt the Insectile Aberration. Keep my life total high. And we're going to try to get them to have to attack into my Dragon's Rage Channeler. I mean, attack into like Murktide with their Dragon's Rage Channeler. Do I want Daze here? We do have a mana advantage right now. I think I don't really get a chance to draw this, and I end up shuffling my library because we're pretty certain to play a Brainstorm in response to anything that might happen here. Which is just what I'm going to do here. Lorien Revealed. I think I can put that in the graveyard. Okay, now we did get there with the Daze, so that is fun. So from this point, I probably don't mind surveilling a Volcanic Island into the graveyard. And we're playing Murktide next turn instead, not Brazen Borrower, so I think this is all okay. A counterbalance. We'll let them surveil. Now they've used 2 Dazes already. So we should be able to Daze this counterbalance. Although it does not immediately stop us from getting to do our thing with Murktide. They have a 3rd Daze. They do not. They do have a Surveil to Dragon's Rage, though. So I'll play the Volcanic Island here. I'd say we're not about to get Delirium. I'll just do the attack. And let's play a big old Murky Rege. We have plenty of instants to exile. Well, Murktide's in for now, but they certainly have plenty of answers. I'm sure they're rocking Pyroblasts and that Stern Dismissal and whatnot. But if we do get to block this Dragon's Rage, that'll certainly flip this game into being in our favor. Yeah, and I do have a Pyroblast. All right, so that happens. They did surveil Dragon's Rage into their graveyard. They've got another counterbalance. Well, that's not great for us. Questing Druid. Okay. Well, I'd say we're attacking for 3, as we don't have a choice. And then I'm just going to continue to pretend that Daze isn't a card. And I think we're just seeking the beast here. Seeing how that goes. We chose not to use counterbalance. Up the Beanstalk is not really what we're looking for here. We don't find anything that will help us. All right, so the last thing that happened is the opponent put Dragon's Rage Channeler into their graveyard. Oh no, they did. Okay, they played Counterbalance, and then they put 1 card on top. So I'm sure they have their 1-drop on top over there. And we're looking for a window to play this Brainstorm. I think we're probably just dead, though. Yeah, we're not going to have any answers for this lightning bolt. I guess I'll just Brainstorm in response. I guess I should have done it for the Surveil, but they did put Polluted Delta into their graveyard. We'll play this here, Brainstorm. They reveal Wasteland to the counterbalance. We have a Hydroblast, but no mana to play it, and we're donezo. See, I just don't hate a few Force of Wills here because they're good with Up the Beanstalk. But we do have 3 Pyroblasts to answer counterbalance, and I guess we have to hope that's good enough. I mean, we'll be on the play, and Daze is a lot better. So, and so is Up the Beanstalk. So I think we'll just have to hope it's good enough. Sure is the battle of the enchantment card advantage engines. Up the Beanstalk versus counterbalance. But this is a fine hand. Dragon's Rage Channeler. Turn 2 Up the Beanstalk. Follow up with Hooting Mandrills. I mean, unless they have Wasteland right here, which they do, but we have more mana, so it's not the end of the world. So we'll attack with this Dragon's Rage. And then we'll make them do something. We're either going to like Lightning Bolt, a Delver, or DRC, or just Brainstorm. Okay, there's a Delver. So this, we're going to Lightning Bolt. And get our Surveil value. Tropical Island. Well, that's going to let us play the Beanstalk, so let's hold on to that. All right, we're in there with the Beanstalk. Questing Druid. I guess I don't really need that here. Like, we have... Okay, they do have Daze. All right, well, we have the Delirium in that case, so that works out okay. We've got like a Murktide or Hooting Mandrills follow-up here. Especially if they just Lightning Bolt my Dragon's Rage, but they don't. Another Questing Druid. Let's do the attack. And I think I'm just going to Brainstorm here and pray to find another land. Wasteland would be the best, but we do find the other land. Is Hooting Mandrills actually better than Murktide Regent here? I'm gonna jam the Beanstalk here. Wonder if I'm being silly though. Is Questing Druid just better? Having a Beanstalk in play sure seems good. See, the Mandrills can't be Pyroblasted. And that's a big upside over Murktide Regent. But I guess that's an exchange I'm okay with. And the Murktide Regent, I mean, they might have a Murktide Regent of their own. Okay. So I need to get a blue source here to make sure we can Murktide next turn. So I'm not getting the Taiga. And I am going to up the Beanstalk. Tropical Island we don't need. I am using a lot more clock than my opponent, but I am commentating. And this is going to be plenty of time to finish game 3. All right, so they've got another Volcanic Island. No attack, huh? Ponder, that's cool. All right, so they have a Delirious Dragon's Rage. Wow, another Dragon's Rage for us. So I think I am gonna bolt their Dragon's Rage. We are playing into our opponent's Daze, but we can protect another Tropical Island. Am I okay putting... I think it is fine, putting that Tropical Island in the graveyard. We want a bunch of cards so that we can attack but maintain the Delirium and grow this Murktide. So any card I can put in my graveyard, I'm going to be happy with. Now let's play the Murky Rege. But we do have a whole bunch of instants and sorceries. I guess we don't have any sorceries, but I guess I am just going to exile all the instants and assume that we get to Daze something to get the Delirium back. And there's a Brainstorm off the top anyway. And Murktide is in. And the opponent's at 9 life here, so this is going okay. We've got Lightning Bolt. That's fine. They fetch for Trop, play Preordain. All right. Are they going to attack and offer some kind of crazy trade? No. All right, we're going to get the other Dragon's Rage out. We're going to start off with Ponder here. Get some super Surveil action. Another Murky Rege. Not insanely hot right now. Pyroblast, that's a pretty good one. Let's take the Pyroblast. It does give us the Delirium. I guess I'm not going to bother Pyroblasting the Insectile Aberration right here and getting it dazed. It's really like they counter back with a Murktide of their own. That's the problem. Yeah, that's fine the way they're using their resources there. Okay. There's an Unholy Heat, so that we get to Daze. I think I'll just put this other Daze in the graveyard. Okay, looks pretty good, I think. They're gonna Seek the Beast on their turn. That's usually a desperation kind of play. They do find Pyroblast in Wasteland. So they get to take out my Murktide. Yeah, there's nothing I can really do about it, but we have Dragon's Rage. Okay, so we can get a Taiga with that Scalding Tarn if we need another green source. The Lorien Revealed, not doing a lot here. I think Hooting Mandrills is the best draw. I guess these Questing Druids are okay. All right, so I'm going to want to draw the land again. I think, all right, so Ponder is probably what we don't need here. Because we can do Seek the Beast to do that kind of thing. All right, so they get out their 4th land. It looks like they have a Murky Rege. We do have the Pyroblast for that. And then I'm sure they'll get out their Questing Druid, or they're going to make sure they can play around Daze. All right. All right, well, we have a Pyroblast for this. I know it's on top of my deck, and it's a Ponder. Do I want to put that in the graveyard? Sure. Okay. And they're very close to dead here. 1 card left in hand. I guess I can Seek the Beast on their upkeep. All right, we get a Surveil trigger, a Brainstorm. That's probably worth keeping. All right, another Dragon's Rage. That's fine, and Brainstorm as well. And the opponent concedes. All right, we got there. Okay, so we're on the draw for round 2. And we got a double Hooting Mandrills, Daze hand. I mean, this hand is... I think it's probably close enough. We get to use the Bauble as like a cantrip with this Misty Rainforest. Goblin Welder from the opponent. All right. Maybe this hand was a little underpowered. But we drew like a card that does something. So I don't hate that. A Wasteland, I think I'm going to shuffle. What would be really great is to find a Lightning Bolt for this Goblin Welder. We have ourselves a Bauble trigger. We hit Ponder. So they're going to Ancient Tomb. All right, well, it's a Goblin Engineer. I can't really do anything about it. So they go for the Brea's Apprentice. Well, that's like not the most scary thing. Like I think I'd be more scared of a combo piece, just given the way things are currently looking. I am going to Island Cycle the Lorien Revealed. Let's grab, I guess, a Tropical. They don't really play Wastelands. I mean, I'm pretty darn sure. But I guess probably 2 Volcanic Islands is plenty anyway. All right, so I guess I'm going to Ponder here. And like Wasteland or Lightning Bolt are both good ones. There's the Lightning Bolt. So yeah, I think the Bolt is just better from here. Or I'm sorry, the Welder is better than the Engineer. Because this can only put cards that with mana value 3 or less. And this is anything. And the Engineer has 2 toughness, but what are you going to do? Anyway, next turn we get to Hooting Mandrills and then Seek the Beast. So they do Weld Out for the Great Furnace for their Brea's Apprentice. Now that's their red source of mana. And this thing just doesn't seem super scary. I mean, we're not playing like Delver's Secrets. So they move into their attack step and get in for 3. We're leaving the Engineer back. We do have a red source. And they do have the Phyrexian Dragon engine. Okay, well, that doesn't do anything unless it enters the battlefield from the graveyard, and then it's a fun draw engine. Okay. All right, so we get to put our Hooting Mandrills into play. And I think I can just wait to seek the beast here until they do something I can respond to. So they're attacking with the Dragon Engine. So this would kill the Hooting Mandrills. I guess I'm just going to take 5 here. I guess I'd like to be attacking with the Hooting Mandrills against their Ancient Tomb. They have yet another welder. All right, well, let's seek the beast. Well, Force of Will is not going to do much. The Misty is okay. Well, less exciting. Since we drew another land. All right, well, I'm going to attack with the Hooting Mandrills. Okay, so they take it. And yeah, we just don't. We can only get to 4 cards and 1 in the graveyard. We need 2 cards in the graveyard to get that Mandrills into play. So it's Questing Druid here. And pass the turn. Lightning Bolt on the Questing Druid. Well, that's fine. It's probably better than a Lightning Bolt on my head. But they do get to attack for a whole bunch here. And that's not great. But maybe they won't attack with everyone. Yeah, they declined to attack with the Brea's Apprentice. I think that's probably good news for us. As we go to 6 here, and then we're going to go to 5 off this fetch land. And then probably just play Hooting Mandrills next turn. All right, so I'm going to get the Taiga here. Here it is. Start the turn. Force of Will's maybe going to be okay. I'm going to attack with the first Mandrills. Well, I guess I really can't attack with the Mandrills. Because, yeah, they've got 5 power in play. All right. I mean, the opponent's not being very aggressive, but they could probably figure out that they could, especially if I've tapped out for the Hooting Mandrills, that they have me dead. They are going to sacrifice the Brea's Apprentice. Okay. This Fury can be played, but that's going to be an easy one to Daze. So they are going to weld the Brea's Apprentice back in and get their 1/1 back. So they got a little engine going on here. They're going to get to weld in that Phyrexian Dragon engine and draw some cards. Since it came into play from their graveyard. They're going to do it right now, I believe. Yep. All right, they got it. Yeah. All right, I guess my hand just a little... I should just mulligan for a more exciting hand. The good news is we have all these meltdowns that I decried earlier and the Pyroclasm that can sweep up a mob of goblins, Hydroblast. This is all good stuff. Well, Force of Will, I mean, they probably play a bunch of Pyroblasts, and Force of Will isn't great. Maybe I can trim a Beanstalk too, and just not rely on that card advantage engine. We have a lot of powerful cards here with the Meltdown, Null Rod, and Pyroclasm, and we still have Questing Druids, and I think that looks good. I think this hand is, I mean, Wasteland is probably pretty strong against them. We have a Lightning Bolt for a Goblin Welder, and then we can, you know, work on getting up the Beanstalk and this Murky Reach going. Alrighty, there's the Welder. Here's the lightning bolt. And I could just wasteland them right away, but I think getting this up the Beanstalk out is good enough. Certainly sets us up to be in a great spot for the future. Meltdown's a pretty exciting one. There's a Painter Servant. So what are they going to do here? Are they going to kill my Beanstalk? Or, oh man, they have a Grindstone too. Well, it's a good thing we have this Meltdown. I guess if they have Simian Spirit Guide, Pyroblast. All right, well, we drew the Daze, so that's a relief. So we can just get this value here. Yeah, if they had Simian Spirit Guide, Pyroblast to counter this Meltdown, that would be crazy. But the Daze there was what we call a Savage Rip. All right, so the Daze counters the Red Elemental Blast, and the Meltdown happens. There's a Saga. We got a Wasteland for that. Yeah, let's just Wasteland this Saga token. And, okay, we don't get to... I was thinking we're going to get to Murky Reach there. But we don't, so I probably should have just Wastelanded the Tomb. So that was a little soft. All right. I guess we'll keep this Daze. And we'll play Murky Reach next turn. All right, the opponent doesn't have too much going on. I'm going to Wasteland this Ancient Tomb. Play this Murky Reach and draw a card. All right. So from here, should be pretty hard to screw this up, I think. Another Murky Reach. That's hard to cast, but we have Seek the Beast. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. And that's an okay one for our opponent, but they are under a lot of pressure here. Ooh, a Hydroblast. All right, so we can Scalding Tarn from exile. See, we might be able to... I guess I can't win right now. If I would need like 2 instants in the graveyard. We've just got 1. All right, so I'm just going to do the attack because I could use Hooting Mandrills to exile more instants and sorceries from the graveyard, which, you know, Murky Reach has this second trigger at the bottom where it gets more +1/+1 counters. Anyway, let's attack for 7 here. And I guess we'll Hydroblast the Fable. I guess I'm going to play Questing Druid and then Hydroblast the Fable and get my +1/+1 counter here on the Questing Druid. All right, so that all happens. They don't get the stage 2 filter ability to maybe finding out to this Murktide, and they're ready to concede. So on the draw here, Daze is definitely less exciting. I mean, Force of Will isn't that great either against their Pyroblasts, but maybe I'll just trim a Lorien Revealed and bring in a couple of these Force of Wills. Or maybe Daze is just all bad. What with being on the draw and them having the Spirit Guides. I mean, like a Minsc and Boo. Not a terrible one. I could also bring my own Pyroblasts in. Maybe I'll actually just do that. So we'll stay on the 3 blast plan. They're likely to name blue with their Painter Servants, is what I learned from game 1 there. All right, well, we've got Dragon's Rage into Surveil action, and we're really hoping they name red with their Painter Servant here. The opponent did mulligan to 6. All right, so the opponent's on an Ancient Tomb Chalice start, and they they did name blue, all right. Sorry, Ancient Tomb Painter Servant start. I want to just Wasteland this Ancient Tomb, but I'm just going to Pyroblast this Painter Servant right out of the way here. Okay, what I'm going to do here is Wasteland the Great Furnace. So they still only get one more construct. Unless they use a Simian Spirit Guide. But this play also shrinks their construct token. We are kind of in need of a Meltdown. I guess just a Lightning Bolt, but Like, I definitely wanted to strand them on the red. I guess they're not going to be stranded, though, because they have that Mox Opal. Well, what I really want... If we can just find, like, a cantrip here and get these Dragon's Rages... Okay, no, we do have the Lorien Revealed to give us Delirium, actually. So they're going to be under a lot of pressure here. All right, so here's the Saga trigger. They get a Lion's Eye Diamond. Wow. So they just have a Painter here, and do we lose? Goblin Engineer. Well, that can find the Painter. Oh, but they get Phyrexian Dragon Engine. Okay, I think if they had just gotten Painter Servant, we might have lost there. I guess, Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and take 6. The Dragon Engine's now out of play. We drew a Null Rod. Okay. I guess I'm doing the Rod, right? I think I can win this game. Yeah, this just shuts off so much of what they're doing. I mean, I'd like to guarantee the Delirium. I think we're going to be okay, and maybe we can... Yeah, with the double Surveils, I'm pretty darn likely to get the Delirium here. Well, that's not Delirium. That is Delirium, though. Great. Okay. So now we're pushing damage. They can swing for 4, but yeah, the Ancient Tomb's a big old problem. But yeah, they can't really use that Urza Saga, so that is cool. I think we're in an okay spot here. Yeah, they attack for 4, but we're going to be ahead on this race. So we get to attack for 6. And then this Dragon's Rage can chump block if needed. I'll play out the Trop. Pass the turn. Yeah, so the opponent's in their main phase. This Saga has ticked up, but another Construct token just doesn't make any difference. Yeah, we can chump that Construct, and then we're going to get in for 6 in the sky. I mean, I guess if our opponent makes something happen with Ensnaring Bridge, that would be their best shot. Okay, well, they do have Painter's Servant. That's maybe a start for them. Choose blue. So they could Pyroblast one of my guys, but that still, I don't think, is going to do it for them. I mean, if they want to attack 4, I'm just going to take it, so we're not in Lightning Bolt range. Pyroblast on my Null Rod. Yeah, I can't stop it. Can they? Do they have one more mana here? A Simian Spirit Guide? It looks like they do. Oh, they can get back the Lion's Eye Diamond. Yeah, okay, well that's going to do it. So now they've got 3 mana. They can Grindstone me. All right, well, I would say they got the draw there, and they got me that time. Well done, opponent. Okay. We've got a fine looking 7. Extra mana, cantrips, Beanstalk. We don't have like a Force of Will if the opponent's doing something broken. Looks like maybe they are doing something broken. An Exhume. Well, usually you don't see Chromox in these Reanimator decks. There's an Entomb. But we're at least going to have time to try to ponder for an answer here. So I guess I will get the Tropical Island. Like a Beanstalk would be really great here to have him play. More so than... Ugh, am I going to just take a Daze? I mean, they just played a Chromox and didn't play a land. I guess I'm going to take the Daze, right? I don't want to get too clever here. Okay. Yeah, let's take Daze. We're going to end up getting all of these cards between Mishra's Bauble and our next draw step. Unmask is what the opponent has. Well, dang. So they're just going to be able to unmask away this Daze, sadly. Though they are down to 1 card. No, okay, they'll have 2 cards. All right, I guess I am going to Daze this unmask. But that sets me back, and so we're really not in a great spot. I mean, they're obviously going to take Brainstorm here. And so we have Petty Theft, but that's going to be a little too late, I think. So probably what's going on is there's a version of Reanimator known as Tin Fins, and basically uses Gristlebrand aggressively. They can like gain life with this card, Children of Corliss, which lets them draw more cards with a Gristlebrand. But maybe that's not the plan. I don't know. What are they doing with this 2 mana here? Collective Brutality. Okay, so they don't get to discard my Brazen Borrower. They can take my Lorien Revealed if they want. Yeah, that's my blue card to pitch to force. So we can bounce the Gristlebrand, but they probably have another animation spell. So we're just going to have to hope that they don't. Yeah, here's a Dark Ritual. And there's an Exhume to put the Archon of Cruelty into play. I guess I'll discard a Beanstalk, but we're pretty much done from here. We already used our Brazen Borrower. I don't think we have any other answers to this Archon. Another Unmask targeting themselves. Okay. Now this looks just like regular Reanimator, but I guess they are playing the Chromox. And now they've got an Atraxa. Okay, they got this one. All right, so the Force of Negations, Veil of Summer, Surgical Extraction. I mean, they are playing Chromox, so you could maybe make an argument for Null Rod here. So I think Questing Druid's a little slow. There's often the Orcish Bowmaster Juke or Dothy Voidwalker, so I usually just don't board out Lightning Bolt. Can probably just cut the Hooting Mandrills and make do with what we got here. I mean, I suppose alternatively, I'm doing the Beanstalk business. Maybe that's a little too optimistic. It'd be nice to have the Beanstalk down. If you have Beanstalk down and then force a will something, it's pretty hard to lose. Yeah, I think I'm just going to roll the Beanstalks. All right. Well, this hand has Surgical Extraction and turn 2 Beanstalk. I think that's fine. Mulliganing for 2 pieces of protection seems pretty hopeless. Okay, well, they have themselves a Grief. But if they want to like Grief and take my Surgical and then reanimate Grief, I'm not so scared about that. We'll just end up lightning bolting the Grief or using Lorien Revealed to get the Tropical Island and set up for the Beanstalk, but maybe the plan here is just to reanimate the Troll. Yeah, they got a Lotus Petal. They do pass. Murky Rege, okay. Well, I'm not going to reveal that we haven't drawn Force of Will. So we're waiting until their end step to use the Lorien Revealed. And so the opponent got here. We can race a Troll of Khazad-dûm, especially if Murktide Regent gets involved. So they're evoking yet another Grief, okay? I guess I'm gonna cycle my Lorien Revealed here. And if they take up the Beanstalk, cool. Or if not, then we have Lightning Bolt and Murktide Regent to work with. All right, so they did go with Murktide Regent off that Grief. So they're going to let us exhume this Murktide Regent into play, and that's nice of them. Okay. So we're going to get to play this up to Beanstalk. Whoops. Get some Surveil value. Draw a card. Daze, okay. We'll attack with this Murktide Regent. I guess I could have lightning bolted pre-combat and maybe gotten the Surveil. But maybe I want to double bolt this Troll of Khazad-dûm. I think these lightning bolts just have to go for my opponent's head. And I think we're doing okay on the race. Yeah, I should have just done it on my main phase. That was silly. All right, well, my opponent's out of reanimate range here, which is to say if they reanimate a fatty and use the spell reanimate, not like animate dead or some other one, they'll die 2 paying the life. So it's 1 less viable card for them. All right. And so they have 3 cards. They don't have any exciting things to reanimate. Like a Grief isn't going to win them the game here if they reanimate that. So they're evoking a Grief, yeah. So we have this one then. Just lightning bolt my opponent here. Okay. All right, so I think up the Beanstalk actually does not make any sense over Questing Druid. I mean, it's much more likely that the 2 cards off Questing Druid are going to be better. Well, we have to play a couple cards that cost 5 for the up the Beanstalk to be better than the Questing Druid. The faster draw engine obviously makes more sense. And I actually think I am going to bring in the Null Rod against all their artifact mana. I mean, that would have been better on the play, but it is what it is. All right. All right, well, if there was like another piece of interaction here, I might think about keeping this hand, but just this no-lander with just a Force of Will is not going to do it for me. I guess we're going to have to accept this one for better or for worse. We'll put back the Tropical Island and accept this double Daze surgical hand. All right, so they've suspended a Profane Tutor, which lets them Demonic Tutor basically for something in a few turns. So we can use the Bauble on ourselves and see if there's a card we want to draw. Wasteland is not a card that I wish to draw. So I will grab... I guess I'll grab Tropical Island here and pretend like I have Veil of Summer. Okay, Force is a pretty nice rip. Yeah, there's a Lotus Petal. There's a Thoughtseize. So I'm gonna Daze here and make them use their Lotus Petal. I tried to tap it for a blue, but all right. So that gets their Lotus Petal off the table. And now they can take my Surgical / Force of Will. They take Surgical. Okay, Ponder's a good one. These probably are going to have to be good enough. I mean, so I could counter this Profane Tutor, but it would be better to counter a spell that's not free. We're missing out on tempo, right? It's better if they get something that costs at least 1 mana, and maybe we can Daze it, or if it costs 2 mana, then they're using up their turn to play that spell that costs 2 mana. Whereas we could force this thing that costs free, that is free, and then they still have their mana available to do something with. So there's the concept of tempo in a nutshell. Okay, so they take Daze rather than Force, so that would indicate they're probably stuck on mana. Now they're going to reanimate Grief. And I guess forcing this is better than letting Grief stick around and play. So, I mean, Ponder does see one more card than Seek the Beast here. But I'm just going to take my chances with Seek the Beast. They don't have too much going on. Okay, they're stuck on 1 mana. Good news, everyone. So let us Seek the Beast and hope to find something good. Lightning Bolts. Well, they aren't good. That is the thing about Seeking the Beast. It does not always go spectacularly. Okay, so what do we want to do here? Do I want to keep this? No, not really. Yeah, I'm just going to any order this and shuffle and ponder again. Okay, I'd say that Daze counts as a hit. Then we'll have the Dragon's Rage down as a clock next turn, and we're holding up Brainstorm. Once we get that clock into play, we're doing better. Swamp Cycle that Troll, so that gets them up to 2 mana. Okay. Here's my Dragon's Rage. But we're doing something now, and these Brainstorms get a lot better with Dragon's Rage in play. Oh, they have 3 mana. They have a Grief and 1 card left in hand. So the best they can do here is like reanimate a Troll of Khazad-dûm. Yeah, I guess I'm just putting Brainstorm in the graveyard. Okay, well, Murky Reach is going to be a solid one to put on the table once they reanimate this Troll of Khazad-dûm. Daze not looking exciting. So we'll keep the Daze in hand, and I guess bury the Questing Druid and the Murktide. Maybe just bury the Brainstorm and the Murktide. Okay. And this way, if they end up like exhuming, we might find ourselves with a Questing Druid in play. I guess I should have actually dazed the Grief, so they would have to take the Questing Druid. That when they exhume here, we'd end. Oh, they do take the Questing Druid though. All right, what does this crazy thing do? Okay, so this just kills the Dragon's Rage, and if they somehow get this thing to 10 counters, they can deal 10 damage to any target. Okay. All right, well, that's cool then. I'd say we have this one locked up here, probably. They're just 2 cards away from doing anything meaningful here because the Murktide is better than anything they can reanimate. So they're going to be dead in a hurry. So they can put an oil counter on this and then take out the Dragon's Rage, but they're dead in 2 swings. So yeah, I don't think there's any way for them back into this game. And there's a concession. All right, this is a pretty sweet hand that does stuff. We get to Dragon's Rage and up the Beanstalk or Questing Druid. We got some mana to work with. All right, so they use a Once Upon a Time here, and they do find a Wasteland. So this is what we call the Cradle Control. And what would be ideal is like a Lightning Bolt or something here, but we're not going to get that. I think it's best that I just get this Dragon's Rage on the board. And I think I'm most interested in getting my Taiga Wastelanded. And if they don't Wasteland it, then we just get to play a Dragon's Rage with that Taiga and then Ponder for more manas. There's a Wasteland. There it is on the Taiga. Another Noble. Okay. So they'll get to get in for some exalted beats here. And we'll go to 18. Okay. So I'm gonna attack with the Dragon's Rage and then play another copy of Dragon's Rage. And then we're gonna be pondering, probably like looking for Force of Will. So they've got a Windswept Heath, and they're cracking it for Plains. Okay, so this is going to be more like Maverick, or usually those Cradle Control decks are more green-black and not playing Knight of the Reliquary. So this is something a little bit different than what I was expecting. But it's okay. Okay, Force is a nice draw. All right, so I am just gonna up the Beanstalk here. Get some Surveil value. Pretty much put anything into the graveyard at this point. Those will feed the Murktide. We cannot really attack into their Knight of the Reliquary. But we're going to get to force something, and then we have another land here to slam the Murky Reach with and draw a card. So we maybe have a chance here. Depends on what they want to do with this Knight of the Reliquary. I would say. If I get a chance to chump block it with a Dragon's Rage when they like swing for a bunch, I probably would take it. I think we're about to get that chance. Yep. Yeah, I'll take a chump block here. A Mother of Runes. That's going to make their Neither Reliquary invincible for like the rest of the game. I get to play Murktide on my turn. Yeah, I'm just going to force this. We get to draw a card for free anyway. Off the Up the Beanstalk. So forcing anything tends to be fine. Another Beanstalk. Okay. Wasteland. Yeah, so I'm just going to make the Murky Reach here and draw a card. It would be fun to get this other Up the Beanstalk in the play, but we obviously don't have the time for that kind of shenanigan. Wasteland is not one that I need. Let's see what the opponent's drawing. Swords to Plowshares. Well, at least we're going to be gaining some life. And yeah, we just don't have any way to get this Delirium for this attack. Okay. All right, so they got swords and one other card over there. So I am going to take this hit for 7. And go to 5. Okay, so they're trying not to use the swords on the Murktide, it would seem. Force is a pretty good one. Or Ponder, I mean. It's a card to pitch 2 Force. But I think what I need to do here is get this Questing Druid into play. I want to play this Up the Beanstalk too. And so I probably want to attack first. Although, I guess I have the Questing Druid as a chump blocker in this Force of Will. All right, I'm just going to play the Up the Beanstalk here, and I won't be upset if I get Delirium. I don't think so anyway. Okay, well, we don't have the Delirium anyway. All right, so let's attack with the Murktide Regent. Dragon's Rage Channeler is going to be my preferred chump blocker for Night of the Reliquary. Then we have this Questing Druid. Ooh, I don't have my Taiga. I'm sure it'll be fine. And so if we're like forcing stuff here, we're going to be drawing cards and we might be able to pull this out. Okay, so I think they're coming in with this Knight. And I guess the only thing here is I just could chump block with a Questing Druid. It's much more likely. I guess the Dragon's Rage Channeler is the better attacker. Although if something gets swords, I guess if they're about to die, they're just going to sword something. I'm going to chump block with the Dragon's Rage. Force of Will like anything here to draw cards. that counts as anything. All right, we can yield to these triggers. So there's the swords on the Murky Reach. So that buys us a little time at least. Now we're drawing cards. Okay. All right, maybe this, ooh, okay, Hooting Mandrills, that's a nice one. I'm just gonna play, I guess I'll play the AP boy first, right? Why wouldn't I? Exile a bunch of lands, that seems pretty free. Those are some triggers. Okay. I guess I'm gonna ponder here first. It's not very likely I get to like double bolt this Knight of the Reliquary somehow. So I guess I'm just gonna play the DRC here. And then I'm gonna play this ponder. Brainstorm, huh? I think that's one that I guess we're pondering anyway. Another lightning bolt. These lightning bolts, I feel like are gonna end up winning the game. Okay. So we've got the Brainstorm on top. And then we can use the Brainstorm to get rid of that land. Although maybe it's one that we'd actually just want anyway. So that both these bolts can resolve. Okay, we're getting some action on that Windswept Heath. A Dryad Arbor. Am I just gonna Wasteland that right now? I think so. I don't know why I wouldn't. So if they chump block with the Ignoble Hierarch here, or the Noble Hierarch, their good spells are all pretty dazeable. Although like a Green Sun Zenith for 3 is something we can daze. But otherwise we've got the Dragon's Rage in the sky for 3 plus 2 bolts. Oh, they're at 5, so they just took it. So we only need to resolve 1 lightning bolt here. They're going to need to gain life to somehow survive next turn, is the rub. All right, so my opponent's thought for a bit and gone into their attack step. They're going to attack with that knight. They have themselves some triggers. Yeah, the Dragon's Rage, I guess, seems better than the Hooting Mandrills at dealing damage. I mean, the Mandrills does have the trample to climb over these ignoble hierarchs. But we'll see what the opponent's got here. Maybe their last card is Endurance, but that's not going to stop our Brainstorm into double bolt here. Renegade Rallier. So they get to return a card with mana value 2 or less to the battlefield this turn. So I guess I can be like a Fiend Artisan or a Mother of Runes. Whoa. Oh, I guess nothing left the battlefield for them this turn. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna attack with this Dragon's Rage. And I guess I need to set it all up because there should be that land on top of my library. Yep. Okay. And from here, I don't see how we can possibly lose. All right, the opponent concedes. All right, so against this Maverick deck, Pyroclasm, Minsc. These are cards I could see being good. And being that we're on the draw, I think I'm going to trim it up the Beanstalk into Daze. Maybe I'll just trim 2 Dazes and keep the up the Beanstalks. I mean, the up the Beanstalks ultimately did do work there. Although I think Force of Negation is actually not bad here against all their chokes and Green Sun Zeniths. Maybe at least one. The up the Beanstalks are just a bit clunky in multiples, and we just have the Questing Druids. But man, the up the Beanstalks are both good. These cards are both bonkers. All right, I think I'll just make do without Daze on the draw against like the mana dork deck. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, Magic Online's being all weird about it and not letting me sideboard out the Daze. It's going to be unclear as to whether it's actually in my deck or not, but whatever. A random Daze looks fine. And I think it did get sideboarded out. Yep, okay. Okay, so do I want to keep a Force, Ponder, Wasteland hand on the draw here? I mean, it's a little weak, but it does have cantrips and Wasteland. Or a cantrip and a Wasteland. A Green Sun Zenith. So I could Force a Negation this. And then like Wasteland their Bayou. Or I could just wait for the big payoff. I think I'm just going to do it. And we'll see what they draw here. This kind of sets the board back to the beginning, but they maybe don't have a mana dork this time. Yeah, basic plains is not too terrifying. Another Wasteland. So let's get the Volcanic Island and Ponder here. Yeah, I mean, these are cards. They don't directly affect the board, but having a Beanstalk in play doesn't seem bad. A Savannah. Yeah, you know, if they're gonna do nothing here, I'm gonna Wasteland the Savannah. Okay, another Savannah. They pass. I guess I'm gonna Brainstorm on the end step. I know there's a land that we don't want to draw, but we have things to put back. Or things to shuffle away. So we mostly hit lands there, so that wasn't super exciting. So do I just want to slam the Beanstalk here? What I'm scared of is a choke. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to pass here and not walk into a choke. And if they play something crazy, we can sort of brainstorm and look for an answer. But here, I kind of wish I had Daze in the deck, I have to admit. Just the way the lands look in my hand, I'm getting this Taiga. We seem to have plenty of other things. And another Wasteland. That's brutal. So we drew all 3. And here's a Beanstalk. There's a Questing Druid. And they're stuck on 1 land. Okay. So, Mother of Runes. Okay, so I'm gonna seek the beast in response. Found the lightning bolt. I could just lightning bolt this on my turn to grow the Questing Druid. And honestly, I think that's what I want to do here. Yeah, we're not about to run out of red mana or anything. Maybe that was a little greedy. We did draw another cantrip, so we weren't really going to be short of ways to grow the Questing Druid. Another lightning bolt. I mean, that's probably good enough. All right. All right, so they got us swords for my Questing Druid. That's cool. All right, so we are going to get to Lorien Revealed with the extra card, which is pretty silly. But this Lorien Revealed would have been good anyway without drawing this extra card. But I'd have to say that drawing 4 is even better. All right, we'll discard an extra land. And we're really going to be ready to take over this game next turn. They are up to 2 mana, though, so it's not fait accompli, as the French might say. All right, so we're going to end up discarding cards. But I guess it's worth getting this extra Beanstalk into play. There's a force. That's pretty much what I've been looking for here. Let's exile some lands. We can yield to these triggers. Yeah, I'll play a Dragon's Rage. And I can Brainstorm and put back a land and then shuffle for it. Bauble, we don't need. Now let's put back some of those things. And I guess we're out of tropicals or green. Oh no, we do have one more green source. So I can add another Hooting Mandrills to the board. So I'm going to do it. I guess. I guess there's plenty for Murktide, and I don't want to ruin my Delirium here. Okay. Well, that's a pretty good board presence, I would say. Yeah, they can Swords my guy. Don't need to force it. And I guess this extra Murktide Regent really is not needed. I mean, I guess if they played Choke here and then had Elvish Spirit Guide to Veil of Summer to counter my Force of Will, that would be a good one for them. Okay, they got another Swords. All right, they're passing it back. We're going to get in for 3. Here's another DRC. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I only have, no, I do have 5 instants and sorceries. Okay. So it's just going to be the old max size Murktide Regent. And I'm sure we can get the Delirium back thanks to Brainstorm. I guess my library is running a little bit low in cards, I suppose, is the way this could end poorly. So we have a Lightning Bolt for this Bowmaster, so I'm just going to let it happen. And then Lightning Bolt the Bowmaster. And that's going to give us the Surveil. Force of Will, we can keep on top. And yeah, we're going to have 4 card types once that bolt's in the graveyard. So let's just keep Force of Will. Okay. All right, the opponent's doing something that I'm going to Force a Will. Grist the Hunger Tide. That is a thing I'm going to Force a Will. And yeah, we're just a little low on cards in the library, but all right, I don't need to put Questing Druid in the graveyard, so that's good. Some Beanstalk triggers. Force on the Grist happens. All right, we're going to attack for 14 in the sky. I guess I'll just play out a Questing Druid. And I think we're in the clear here. All right, there's a concession. All right, on to round 5, playing for 4 and 1. All right, we get to be on the play for round 5. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to keep, looks like round 5 against the 4 or 5 color control. I'll be interested to see how this goes. So I guess we'll start with a Bauble and try to confirm what they're on. And then we're going to Ponder and then play a turn to Beanstalk. And then we're going to be rolling here. It looks like it is the 4 or 5 color control based on that Ponder. We'll play a Ponder of our own. Yeah, these are cards. Yeah, so we're going to get to see all of these over the next turn cycle here. We'll get to play Beanstalk with Daze Protection, and then we're going to be jamming Mandrills and Murktide, so exciting stuff. Okay, so it's a basic island Ponder from the opponent. I mean, if it is, the basic island suggests that maybe it's not 4 or 5 color control, because they probably can't afford to play more than one basic island. But I suppose it's more likely, you know, what are they going to be, like 60 card Jeskai somehow? I mean, probably they just found their one basic island, or maybe they play 2 copies or something. Anyway, here's up the Beanstalk with Daze and Force backup, so this is good news for us. Beanstalk is in. So we get to like Force to protect this thing and then play Savage Beaters next turn. So I don't think, I mean, they could play a Beanstalk of their own, but we can answer that. So, I mean, this is a pretty good position to be against with regard to the 4 or 5 color control. So there's a Tropical Island. So we got a Daze for their Beanstalk. I think that was probably the best thing they could have, is a Beanstalk of their own. And now we get to Daze it. Yep, that's the power of Daze. And now we're rolling. Yeah, I think it's just slam Hooting Mandrills. Yeah, and we can, so we're saving Force a Will. Sorry, we're saving Brainstorm to pitch to Force a Will here. Although, I guess it's not super likely that this Murktide's going to come down soon. So I could have Brainstormed there. But this seems fine. This Wasteland's probably going to be clutch. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. I think I'm just going to force it. Yeah, that like fixes their mana and stuff. And this draws me a card. So it seems like an easy decision. It's Wasteland, whatever they do. Force a Will it, I mean. Fury, okay. I'll take the... Well, this was a 2-for-1, and then they've 2-for-1 themselves to do it. It's hard for me to comprehend how much value that is. Suffice to say, it's quite a bit. Okay, well, we're definitely going to Wasteland them off their green. Sadly, we just cannot quite get this Hooting Mandrills down this turn. I suppose I could Brainstorm into a Bauble. I think I'm okay just passing. We can Hooting Mandrills next turn. Probably is like a Brainstorm on their end step, or Brainstorm at some point here situation. It doesn't seem like they're on Orcish Bowmasters. That is like something to kind of think about here. is what the Bowmaster situation is. Oh, am I about to get Bowmastered? No, I'm not. Am I about to get Hull Breachered? No, not that either. Okay, good. All right, so I'm gonna put back some lands here. So Lorien Revealed is gonna do its noble work by being an end of turn shuffler and get rid of those lands on top of my library. So that's pretty sweet. And 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I'd say it's Murky Reach time. And I guess I'll deploy the Dragon's Rage Channeler as well. I'm somewhat prone to sweepers here, but we can reload. And if they just have like a Swords to Plowshares or something, I'm not going to be happy that I didn't deploy 2 threats. I'm going to Mountain Cycle the Oliphant. Okay. So they hit their Taiga. And they do have the One Ring. Well, that's a pretty good one for them. So that gives them protection from everything for 1 turn. But we have a lot going on our end, so I'm not going to stress about it too much. Well, I'm definitely going to slam this other up the Beanstalk. Actually kind of close to casting Lorien Revealed. But Hooting Mandrills is like better than Lorien Revealed here, I think, for the most part. Right, we can Wasteland them off the green. And we can pass the turn. All right. So they're drawn with a 1 ring. And so what are you going to do to me, opponent? This is where they need to kind of hit me with their best shot. It was a Tundra, Swords on my Regent, and a pass the turn, it looks like. Okay. All right, Misty Rainforest, not the best draw. Gonna Brainstorm. Another Brainstorm. I think these are okay. All right, and Brainstorm one more time. Dragon's Rage. All right, so now we've got the Delirium. Yep. At least for 1 combat step. Okay, these are all cards. I guess 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Probably the best thing to do is just attack and then activate the Murktide. Or play the Murktide. And just draw these cards again. Okay. All right, so we're getting in for 3. We are deploying the Murky Reach. Drawing some more cards. We knew those were coming. All right, they're going to lose some life to the 1 ring, but then get to draw more cards. So they kind of need to play the 1 ring this turn. If they don't, then they're going to be very dead. But we do have a Daze. But you'd think they probably would have found a 5th land. Yeah, they did. So do you have another 1 ring to play around the Daze? Oh, they're just going for a Lorien Revealed that we get to Daze. All right, I think this should pretty much wrap up the game, I would expect. Okay, so they're gonna do a Solitude. All right, well that's fine. I mean, they're not gonna like die next turn, but we're gonna get to, you know, reload and have a chance to find Force of Will for the next thing they do that matters, basically. There's a Force. Okay. I'm just gonna fire off this fetch. Grab a Taiga. I don't really see us getting Delirium here, so I'll just crack in for 1. And now we can Hooting Mandrills. Draw 2 more cards. And then we've got Seek the Beast and Force of Will plus whatever we draw here. All right. I mean, I could slam this 3rd Beanstalk, but I think it's... Hold up, Seek the Beast. Okay, they're going to continue to draw cards with the 1 ring. So they're going to try to Teferi here. And I guess I'm going to... I guess I'm just going to force pitching Ponder. The Daze. What are the chances there's some kind of follow-up that I need to Daze here? I guess Daze can go in the graveyard. It's pretty much Force of Will or bust. We found a Daze. Okay. Brainstorm. You can have that. Okay, so they're going to take 4 damage from the 1 ring on their upkeep. That is the thing about the 1 ring. You get to draw all these cards, but you do have to pay for your burden counter. And so if they can't blink the 1 ring, then, you know, they're going to take at least 5 here. And so I think that should wrap it up. They're going to have 2 mana, it looks like. I mean, I guess if they answer the Hooting Mandrills, in theory, they could get there. Okay, they're tapping out, so Daze is going to get to see some action, it would appear. Or they take it back. All right, they're going to evoke Solitude. So I guess this is a fine time to Seek the Beast and pray for another Force. Ponder is not it. Okay, well, we struck out pretty hard there. So yeah, they're taking out my Hooting Mandrills. So we have managed to make it through. And there's only 19 cards left in my deck, and I don't think we've seen like a single copy of Lightning Bolt. But Lightning Bolt would end the game here. Dragon's Rage, okay. So what do I want to do? I want to get Delirium, right? And find Lightning Bolt. So what's the... I could Dragon's Rage. And then up the Beanstalk and get 2 triggers. I guess that seems like the best bet. So let's play Dragon's Rage. Let's play up the Beanstalk. That's not one we need, but okay, so we're going to have the Delirium, so that is at least positive. Yeah, I think I'm just putting Ponder in the graveyard. Come on, Lightning Bolt. No Lightning Bolts, okay. Well, this gives us the Delirium at least. I guess I'll waste my opponent off Karakas. All right, well, it's another Solitude, okay? And they're going to cycle the Lorien Revealed. Okay, well, I guess finding Lightning Bolt wouldn't have done it anyway, to be fair. But man, I guess, I mean... Well, they pretty much have to play the One Ring here. And it's just remarkable that we found... We just haven't found any Lightning Bolts. And Lightning Bolt would certainly win the game. Yeah, they get to have their new One Ring, so they got protection from everything for a turn here. All right, and they are passing. There's a Lightning Bolt. Okay. So I'm going to play the Questing Druid from Exile. And then Dragon's Rage Channeler has to attack, but it's not going to do anything because they have protection from everything, from the One Ring there. And I'm just going to be holding up Seek the Beast here. So we, just trying to see my graveyard. We've only hit one copy of Force of Will too, so the rest of our library is pretty much Force of Will and Lightning Bolt. Okay, they're cracking their Arid Mesa. So it's pretty much my plan here to jam Seek the Beast and Lightning Bolts here. If they're tapping out for Terminus, it's going to get dazed. We can also play Brazen Borrower on their end step as another way to get in for some damage. So they've gotten a crazy Triumph here, which is probably good for Leyline Binding. It is a Fury. We get to Daze the Fury. Okay, so they're going to force my Daze. That's fine. It's auto-yield to this trigger. We'll see what's on top with this Surveil. Another Questing Druid's not really what I need. But in response to the Fury, we can Lightning Bolt my opponent. Put Scalding Tarn in the graveyard. Okay, we finally got there. Just wonder... There's a Force of Will. There's a Lightning Bolt. I guess we somehow still had a lot of lands in the deck. Just lands and bolts. Okay. Okay. So it seems like our opponent's not on Bowmaster. So I don't think we need Lightning Bolt too badly. And they're going to have carpets, I'm sure. We can probably just board out Daze altogether. I don't know. We definitely want Minsc and Boo. The Rod turns off the One Ring. Pyroblast. Hydroblast. I mean, Veil of Summer could probably do some work here. So, well, this is a version that plays Elementals. We saw the Furies and whatnot. Like, if Fury actually gets into play, Lightning Bolt would be a good thing to have. Well, I think we can board out a Brazen Borrower. They probably just have to make do without Veil of Summer. Probably the Bauble's just not going to make the cut. I mean, the good thing, we can get Delirium off the Beanstalks, and we actually play some sorceries with the extra Lorien Revealed. All right, and maybe we'll just do 3 Lightning Bolts. I'd love to have some Dazes in here, but can't really see cutting anything else. Okay. All right, this hand looks fine. Beanstalk, Force of Will, Pyroblast. Those are all things I'm trying to do. In a control matchup, the Beanstalk's like a good threat that applies pressure, despite not actually being a creature. But yeah, we're going to hold up Pyroblast here. There's not much on turn 2, though, that my opponent could play that I would Pyroblast. I guess we could get into a force battle over a Beanstalk. And with that in mind, I'm going to play Dragon's Rage instead of the Beanstalk here, because I would like to protect my... We're going to have a force battle, I would imagine, and I want to win it with Pyroblast. They're going to Brainstorm on the end step. Well, we allow end step Brainstorms around here for the most part. All right, so their Brainstorm happened. We're going into their main phase. They want to Leyline Bind my Dragon's Rage. That is cool. Okay, so I'm just going to fetch a Tropical Island here and then play the Beanstalk, holding up the Volcanic Island for Pyroblast. All right, Beanstalk is in. Great, so now we got our Beanstalk protected by Force of Will, which, you know, we'll draw cards. They want a Mountain Cycle, they're Oliphant, that's fine. They've pretty much wasted their Leyline Binding on Dragon's Rage. So I'm happy about that. Okay, so they got Yorion out of their sideboard. That's cool. Murky Reach. So I can't really play that now. I think we're okay just passing. So we're now at a point where we can hardcast Force of Negation and then have Force backup and Pyroblast, which is going to lead into Murktide. So this seems like a pretty positive position. They don't want to do anything. And I could Island Cycle, which I guess could get the Murky Reach party started. I guess that seems okay. All right, more lands. I guess I can't Murktide Regent and hold up Force of Negation. I am just going to sit back here another turn. I guess one more blue card in hand would be ideal before committing a flurry of spells here. All right, the opponent's taking action. I like this. Lorien Revealed. So let's just Pyroblast that, right? Okay, now we can Murktide Regent and have mana up and stuff. We drew a land that is on brand for this game. All right, we'll pass the turn. I'm just going to let them have the swords on the Murktide Regent. They want to play an up the Beanstalk. I'm going to Force a Negation it. Okay, that thankfully resolves. I'd like to not draw a land here. Great, that is not a land. Okay, these Force of Wills aren't bad. Maybe Lightning Bolt is just going to be bad here and do nothing. 1, 2, 3. My opponent has infinite lands, so I don't think Wasteland is very exciting. I'm going to put back the Bolt. And this puts us into a position where we can force something and Pyroblast as well. Brainstorm. Yeah, I guess you can have Brainstorm. All right, so the opponent wants to Fury here. Well, I think we have Lightning Bolt on top of our deck. And this Fury scarcely matters. So I guess I'm just going to let it go. And hope that I put the Lightning Bolt on top of my deck like I was supposed to. Yeah. All right, that Lightning Bolt doing work after all. All right, the opponent's going to crack that Heath on the end step. Hit their crazy Triome. Lorien Revealed. All right, I think I'm going to cash in on a Force of Will here. And try to get this up the Beanstalk chain moving. I mean, I could just Pyroblast this. If this somehow goes wrong, though, I don't think I'll be too upset. Okay, Ponder. That's some action. Another Lightning Bolt. Okay. Man, that's a pretty bad Ponder from here. Another up the Beanstalk. I mean, it shields down as far as having force unless we rip a blue card. I think I just have to take the chance. Most of the things our opponent would do can be Pyroblasted, and hitting Questing Druid here is probably good enough of a hit, so that's cool. We've only got 4 cards in hand. Okay, yeah, so here's an Omnath that we can just counter target spell if it's blue. I don't know if the opponent's playing Veil of Summer, but it seems like they're not. Okay, that works. All right, I think we're okay. We're gonna start rolling here. What would this Seek the Beast? Okay, Brainstorm. All right, so I'll just play that on my turn. Okay, Lorien Revealed, that's a nice hit. It's at least something we can pitch to Force of Will. So I'm actually, well, I could Wasteland their Proving Ground. All right, yeah, I'm just gonna... I guess it doesn't really seem like they have Leyline Binding. I just don't know if that making their Leyline Bindings cost 1 instead of 2 is really huge game here. We'll fire off this Brainstorm. Another up the Beanstalk. Okay. Let's put this Lightning Bolt on top. Okay, let's get the 3rd up the Beanstalk into play. All right, I think we can just pass here. A Carpet of Flowers. Well, I mean, it's a lot of mana, but they've only got 3 cards in hand, so I'm not going to burn a Force of Will on this. I mean, mana is already like an infinite commodity here, so I'm not super worried about it. So here's the Yorion. Let's just Pyroblast it. Force of Vigor on my Beanstalks. All right, I'd say this is one I can Force of Will. And I'll get the triggers. Well, the triggers are good. Okay, there's a concession. Show me my prizes. Okay, well, they were there for a second. All right. Okay, so here were the matchups. Yeah, we beat Temur Delver, pretty good matchup to start. Definitely played a little bit loose against Painter, But then, I mean, we pretty much came back. I was happy with my play against Reanimator and Maverick and the 4 or 5 color control. I think as far as Temur Beans lists go, I mean, this was pretty effective. I mean, just having Questing Druid and up the Beanstalks, you know, just both broken green card engines was pretty sweet. I kind of felt like you could cut the 3rd Beanstalk for maybe a removal spell. They just are a little clunky in multiples, and we have these Questing Druids. So I could see, you know, just one more like regular type removal spell. And then in the sideboard, so having 3 Pyroblasts, I mean, we have up the Beanstalk instead of Counterbalance, which I was talking about a little bit in match 1. And you definitely need Pyroblast to keep your opponent off of Counterbalance in those tempo mirrors. So those 3 Pyroblasts seem pretty cool. I could just see cutting maybe a Meltdown there for like a Torpor Orb. One more card for these Ancient Tomb matchups I think would be cool. And one more removal spell in the main deck. The game against 4 or 5 color elemental control at the end was just a little surprisingly awkward trying to get momentum going. But I guess we had a lot of cards in hand in game 2, and well, I mean, the One Ring really took over the game, and you know, that's what the card does, you know, as we saw in game 1, but we pulled it out. So yeah, I'm glad I got a Temur Beanstalk list on the channel. Yeah, this is pretty sweet. Yeah, Questing Druid and up the Beanstalk in one deck. Those are some super buddies, and this is a super deck. Okay, well, if you made it to the end, like, comment, and subscribe, and thanks for watching. Have a good one.